Hello, and welcome to Webster University Library's demonstration of Mendeley Reference Manager. Today, I'm going to demonstrate a resource that can save you time and hassle. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this session, it would be to ask us for help. We're here to assist you at any point in the research process. Here you see my contact information, or you can contact us through the library website. To get help with Mendeley or any other aspect of your research, click Contact a Librarian on the library homepage, library.webster.edu. Also, notice the Research Guides box. In the research guides, there are written instructions for everything that we will cover in this session, and later you can refer to this if you like, or ask us directly for help. We take it very seriously that students have the same access and services no matter their geographical location, work schedule, or other circumstances. Help is available to you in person on the second floor of the library, via email, over the phone, or even when we're closed through our 24-hour chat feature and our YouTube channel. Mendeley is a reference manager, and it helps you keep your research organized. Remember in high school when you used index cards for your research papers? You would keep notes about where you found a source, what information in that source, and perhaps other information that pertains to your assignment. When doing a large research project, it would be very difficult to keep all of your sources organized if you were to keep that same index card system. In college, we usually develop our own system of storing documents and organizing our papers. But as we progress in our academic career, even these systems can become insufficient. If you're juggling many sources or even just multiple research projects at one time, very quickly things can feel out of hand. With a tool to keep you organized, you can focus on learning from your assignment and turning in your best work, rather than trying to track down a quote that you know you read somewhere in that pile of 20 papers on your desk. That's why we usually recommend Mendeley for students, faculty, and staff that are going to be doing a lot of research. Mendeley is wonderful, but requires a bit of background information to get started, so we don't recommend it for smaller projects or for projects that you're starting at the last minute. If you're in a major that will require you to do a lot of research throughout your time with us, this can be a great resource, especially as you might revisit past projects as you progress. If you're doing a large research project like a thesis or a capstone, this would also be very practical. There are also some features I'll discuss at the end of this session that are useful to those doing original research or seeking publication. Some resources that you might already be familiar with are still going to help when you use Mendeley. Webster's Online Writing Center is a wonderful resource for getting help with your writing, not just for little details, but they provide advice that will really help you grow as a writer throughout your time with us. The Online Writing Center of Purdue University is also helpful for quickly writing style and citation. For a short paper that requires you to quickly generate citations, NightCite or Citation Machine are freely available online, and they're citation generators that are better suited to small projects. We know Mendeley can help us, but how? It gives us a great place to store our sources easily and add them to your collection from the internet and library databases, and keep them organized. There is a social media aspect, and you can create groups with your classmates to share sources, as this is easier than digging through an email with many replies. And your features that after we discuss the basics. Mendeley has a lot of moving parts, but you'll soon find yourself used to this resource and be able to benefit from the ways that the parts connect. We'll start with Mendeley.com, which will store your sources in the internet. Then we'll download the desktop app, which will streamline the writing and citation process. There's also a mobile app, which we wouldn't recommend for heavy research, but it can be helpful if you need to look up something quickly. Before we get started, I want to point out that while Mendeley is freely available on the internet, if you register through the library website, you'll receive special perks like extra storage. You only have to do this the first time, or you can continue to do it if you prefer, and I'll show you how to get there. And this allows you to extras that are available to you with your Webster enrollment. So back on the library homepage, library.webster.edu, we're going to select the big blue Articles and Databases box. You might be familiar with this page to be a kind of directory for all the different resources that we provide online, which are many. You can either find Mendeley under General and Multidisciplinary in the lower right-hand corner, or you can use the drop-down menu at the top to select it from an alphabetical list of our online resources. And when we click on Mendeley, we'll be directed to Mendeley.com, where we will select Create an Account. Then you'll fill out a brief form and create a password. All of the things that you normally do when you create an account for anything online. Remember to use your Webster email when you sign up in order to get those extra perks. Once we enter Mendeley, we can do all kinds of cool things. I can store sources. I can add a browser extension that will sort of grab web pages and save them in my library. My sources will stay here in this account, so you don't have to worry about losing a flash drive or your hard drive crashing. Once inside, I see a sort of social media with other people on Mendeley, if I choose to, but it's not mandatory. And this shows me how they've updated their profile. And we can see here in my feed that a staff member and former staff member have recently published an article. The most useful feature to you will be the library. Not the library, the organization where I work, but the collection of sources that you keep in your Mendeley account. You can see at the top where I've selected library, and you can create folders, and you see these folders on the left. Some of them are blacked out because they might reveal other people's information. And I can keep these for different projects, different interests, or steps in a process. I can also see the bibliographic information of a certain. There on the right-hand side, it will show me the title, author, name of the journal, and other information. Keep in mind that just like any citation generator, this does require double checking. Here's an example of something in my library. I'll show you how I added that in just a moment, that had incomplete information. Occasionally you may add a few missed details in by hand, but it's much easier to check this and correct it when you add the resource than go back and try and find it again later with incomplete information. I can also add tags to a resource, just like a hashtag, and I can tailor these to my interests, the class, or how I'm going to use them. And these can help you keep things organized even within folders. When I open an article in Mendeley, I can highlight using different colors that I might code for different purposes, and you can also leave text notes to yourself in the bubble. So in addition to the annotation feature in the article record, where I just showed you, it showed me the bibliographic information, I can add notes to that, or I can add them here for specific passages. When you go to download Mendeley, you see the option to install Web Importer. That's what we're going to focus on at this moment. And this is a little browser plugin that will show up next to your search box you can see on the far right. And if I'm on a website, say a government website or a news article, you can click that, and as long as you're logged into Mendeley, it will automatically add the citation information to the library. Then you can go back to your library, add notes, highlight, and use all of the other features that we just saw. For resources from library database, it's best to skip the browser plugin and use a tool in the database to export the information. This gets confusing if the browser plugin will try and get the information for the website you're looking at, but not the article you want to read. So in Scopus, this can be done by clicking Export when I'm looking at an article and then selecting Mendeley. It's very easy. And again, you do have to be logged into Mendeley in your browser for this to work. In EBSCO, the process looks a little different. You will click Export on the toolbar on the right-hand side, then select the first option, Direct Export, and click the Save button. Then you will see the file download in the lower left-hand corner of your browser, just as if you were going to download a PDF from the internet. And because I want to save this to my Mendeley account and already have that open in my browser, I can go back to that on a different tab and click the file that I've downloaded and just drag it into the library. So just remember not to close out of your browser before you do this. Now, moving on, we'll find out how to get the desktop app, which we'll need to work with Mendeley.com in order to get the most out of our use. So we're going to install this from Mendeley.com and install the Word or Citation plugin. So back in our Mendeley.com account, instead of clicking the web importer, we're going to click Download the Desktop app. And then it will appear as an icon on your desktop. As you can see, I have a little snippet of how that appears, or it will be located in your programs. And here you'll see something sort of similar to Mendeley.com, but perhaps a little more mechanical looking, a little more bare bones. The thing that you must remember is to sync this regularly while you're logged into your Mendeley.com account in your browser. Some of us remember when you had to do this with your iPod and iTunes account. You would plug your iPod into the computer and click sync to get the new songs that you had downloaded before the iPods could connect to the internet. You don't need chords to do this, but just remember to click that sync button intermittently when you add new references to Mendeley.com. So when you take that next step and use Mendeley in Microsoft Word and have trouble finding a source you'd like to cite, chances are you can't find it because you've forgotten to sync. So the most important aspect of Mendeley Desktop is the word plugins. And if you go to Tools in Mendeley.com and install the MS Word plugin, you can get started. After I install the Word plugin, you can open Word and go to the References tab. And it will look a little different than it usually does. You'll see the Mendeley logo, for instance, but the way that it functions is much different. This will link to your Mendeley account and allow you to quickly add citations. When you've finished, you can even click Insert Bibliography, and presto, a bibliography in the style you've chosen will appear. Everything will be in the proper order. Your indentation and spacing will be correct. If you're working on a large thesis project, this could save you hours of your life, and you can spend that time celebrating your graduation instead of alphabetizing. During your writing, when you come to a point where you would like to insert a citation, simply go to the References tab at the top and click Insert Citation. And the small box will appear, and you can search within it for the title, the name of the author, etc., anything that will help you find the source where you know that came from. And you will, at times, probably have to stop and go look at your annotations to remember where you found that. And then you can select that from the results, and your citation will be inserted. So here you see at the end of this nonsense paragraph I've created, I've inserted a citation. And it will automatically add that in text citation for you. And this is nice because you don't have to stop in the middle of what you're writing and track the information down, or it would at least minimize that. There's less interruption to your writing. You can follow your train of thought and do better work. And now on to some extra features that you might find useful. Here's a group that I've created with some coworkers, and this is really great for collaborative work. If you're on a group project, if perhaps even in a small class, you want to be able to drop information that you find in there for other members, this can save a lot of time and hassle, and it's more convenient than using just an email chain. Right, you can go in, you can see the bibliographic information instead of, whatever file name that you've made up for it, and you don't have to dig through everything. It's all right in one spot. Many researchers upload data sets that they've collected which might be interesting or useful to other researchers. If you're doing original research, you might consider adding your data set to help others with the added perk that they will be citing your work. This also might be a good place to browse data that others have added that might inform your work or could be used in unexpected ways. If you are conducting your own research, you can also search for grants and other funding opportunities. Faculty and staff looking here should also talk to Webster University's Office of Research and Special Programs for help with these matters. just a quick review of some of the most important things that we want you to remember about Mendeley. When you do register, use your Webster email, and the first time that you use Mendeley, go through the library website. Beyond that, you can continue to enter through the library website or go directly to mendeley.com. Install Word on your desktop. If you attempt to use the citation plugin using Word in your browser, it will not be able to communicate with Mendeley desktop, and that's essential for that component to work. Double check the records for the citations that you enter because it's much easier to fix them when you're adding them and have the article still in front of you than to go back later and try and follow your trail to the information that you need. Visit our YouTube channel for helpful tutorials on Mendeley and more. And most importantly, if you run into trouble at any point in your research process, ask for help.